They called me small. It was their favorite word, a label stitched onto my fur with every snicker and dismissive glance. It was meant to define my world, to build the walls of the tiny box they wanted me to live in. In their eyes, I was a footnote, easily overlooked. I learned to just keep walking, even when my legs felt like they might give way under their judgment. I learned to become invisible, shrinking myself down until I was just a shadow clinging to the wall. I focused on my breath, a small, steady rhythm against the rising tide of noise. In and out, a tiny anchor in a swirling storm of whispers. It was the only thing that felt like my own. The laughter that followed me down the corridor was a physical thing, like 1,000 tiny needles, each one a fresh reminder of my place. It clung to me, a foul scent I couldn't wash away. But I refused to let them see the cracks. I built a fortress around my heart, stone by silent stone. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of knowing they had broken me. Not today, not ever. Then, a flash of auburn in the periphery. A fox, moving with a silent, unshakable confidence that seemed to bend the world around it. It didn't ask for permission to exist, it simply was. It moved through the afternoon light not as a visitor, but as a rightful owner of the space it occupied. I watched it, mesmerized. I studied the quiet pride in its posture, the certainty in its stride, the way its gaze swept forward, never down. It owned the ground it walked on. It was everything I was not. My own paws clenched, the worn fabric of my pocket twisting between my claws. A small, desperate act of holding on. Holding on to what, I wasn't sure. Myself, maybe. The last frayed thread of who I was before their words began to unravel me. The image of the fox burned behind my eyes, a stark and painful contrast to my own cowering form. I let the city swallow me, seeking refuge in its vast indifference. I drifted through forgotten alleys and shadowed laneways, places where the forgotten things of the world collected. Head down, I moved through the world like a ghost, my footfalls making no sound, my presence leaving no trace. I was collecting the scattered pieces of myself, trying to remember how they once fit together. The city hummed with a million lives, and in its overwhelming chorus, my own quiet pain felt both infinitesimally small and deafeningly loud. My reflection stared back from the dark glass of a storefront, a stranger with familiar eyes, a ghost illuminated by the cold, flickering neon. And in their watery depths, a question finally surfaced, clear and sharp, cutting through the fog of my despair. Why are you hiding? Why are you letting them make you so small? The words echoed in the hollow space inside me. You are collaborating in your own disappearance. You are helping them erase you. A single tear escaped, a silent admission of a pain too deep to hold. It traced a hot path through my fur, a final surrender. But as it fell, something else rose in its place. Not anger, not sadness, but a choice. A quiet, firm decision that took root in the very core of my being. The tear was not an end. It was a beginning. It was the watering of a seed that had lain dormant for far too long. I would not be small anymore. I would not be defined by their whispers. I would become something more. Something of my own making. But resolve needs a foundation. A decision is just a whisper without the muscle of action to give it voice. So, work first. I channeled my hurt into action, my grief into grit. I began in the darkness, gathering cans in the pre-dawn chill when the city was still asleep. Each clatter in the bag was a small victory, a tangible piece of a new reality. It was a purpose found in the discarded, a value I was creating with my own two paws. I cleaned windows until they gleamed, wiping away the grime until the world outside came into focus, sharp and clear. It felt symbolic, as if I were cleaning the smudged lens of my own life. I saved every coin, each one a cold, heavy testament to my labor, a promise I was keeping to myself. I learned to breathe steady, my breath no longer a fragile anchor in a storm, but the powerful rhythmic engine of my own making, in and out. The rhythm of work, the rhythm of change. Lift, breathe, lift again. The weight was heavy, designed to crush, but my will was heavier. I discovered a strength I never knew I possessed, a fire in my muscles that burned away the weakness. Strength wasn't a gift handed down by fate, it was earned, forged in the furnace of effort, built quietly in the lonely hours when no one was watching. Each ache was a reminder of my growing power. Each drop of sweat was a baptism. The scrape of cardboard against pavement was the sound of my old self being torn away, broken down into raw material for something new. With every rough edge, with every ripped seam, my own resolve sharpened into a fine, dangerous point. I was no longer soft. I was no longer yielding. I was becoming resilient. The laundromat hummed with a warm, mechanical lullaby, a sanctuary of steam and soap. I folded fabric, smoothing out the wrinkles with a focused precision. I imagined I was folding the future into a neat, manageable shape, taking the chaotic mess of my life and giving it order, purpose, and clean edges. The rain came, a cold, relentless chase that once would have sent me scurrying for cover, but for the first time, I didn't shrink from it. I didn't hide. I ran into it, letting the downpour wash away the dust of the past. My courage, a fledgling thing, somehow managed to outrun the storm. I felt the cold shock on my fur, not as a punishment, but as a cleansing. The coins clinked in their jar, a humble treasure amassed through sweat and sheer will. It was the sound of hope, the melody of perseverance, and it was finally beginning to count louder than the echoes of doubt in my mind. This small pile of metal was worth more than gold. It was the physical manifestation of my own worth. The box opened, and with it, a light spilled out, chasing away the last of the shadows that lingered in the corners of my room. It wasn't just a shirt, it was a clean start, a new page. It was a uniform, a declaration. It was the skin I had chosen for myself, paid for not just with coins, but with every ounce of my resolve. The fresh, crisp threads met my worn paw pads. The contrast was everything. The roughness of my journey meeting the smoothness of my destination. It felt like armor, not hard and cold like the walls I used to build around myself, but soft and chosen. Something I had earned for myself, woven from my own efforts. Button up, shoulders square. I watched my reflection, but this time I saw no stranger. I saw myself. My posture straightened, not by force, but by an inner alignment. Take a breath. Not to survive, but to feel. To breathe in the scent of pride, of clean cotton, of a future I had built with my own two paws. The morning gates opened, just as they always did. The same iron, the same path. But everything was different, because I was different. This time I wasn't just passing through them, bracing for the gauntlet. I was walking toward my own horizon, with the sun at my back. The hallway hushed. The familiar whispers, the constant grating static of my life, faded into a new kind of silence. It was a silence born not of fear, but of curiosity, of confusion, perhaps even of respect. I didn't need to fight for the center of the corridor. I simply held it, my quiet confidence a force field that parted the crowd. The sun found me through the high windows, a brilliant spear of light. And for the first time, I did not flinch from its light. I did not seek the shadows. I let it warm me. I let it see me. I stood in its spotlight and felt not exposed but illuminated. My eyes were steady. My gaze did not waver. My heart, once a frightened bird fluttering in a cage of my own ribs, was now a drum. Its beat was strong, measured, and sure. Its beat was louder, finally, than any whisper they could ever form. It was the only sound that mattered. Lionheart. Not a name given, but a name earned. Forged in darkness and worn in the light. Finally.